Welcome to the Real News Extra. My name is Fred. I'm the operations manager here at Relaw APC, and joining me today is Jennifer Felten, the principal and founder of Relaw APC. So Jennifer, what are the most common mistakes that real estate professionals make that get them in trouble with the DRE?
Right. So the DRE just put out a nice little bulletin.
Yes, they like doing that.
The DRE has been very actively communicating with its constituency of late. I happen to be a licensed broker, so I get their notices. So I was like, what are they seeing? Because that means, what am I going to have to defend?
Right. You're preparing.
I'm preparing. So the number one is managing trust funds. So right. The reality is that real estate brokerages handle trust funds in primarily two areas. One is escrow. Okay. Right, because there's an exemption in the escrow law for brokers to do escrow, and the other is property management. So you have to have a license to be a property manager and through a brokerage, and so they're holding the rent money, security deposits, things like that.
Right.
So all that money has to be in a trust account. A trust account is an account. So the brokerage would own the account, but the funds would not be their funds. It's other people's money, trust account. So if they're not managing that properly, that's a problem, right? We have fiduciary duties to protect the public, and this is a area where we've seen a lot of enforcement with brokerages not having good procedures and not properly managing funds. So that's number one, and that's a high ticket item because we want people's money to be safe.
Oh, of course.
But some of the other things they talked about, misrepresentation, right? So I don't think in the vast majority of cases that real estate agents are trying to be deceptive or dishonest in what they're doing, but there's a line between puffing
right.
and promoting something and being honest and fully transparent about something. The reality is that California is a very pro-buyer, pro-tenant state,
yes,
which means not only the seller or the landlord, but the real estate agent has to disclose any known defects. So we see a lot of misrepresentation cases. In my experience, it's rarely intentional, and sometimes it's not a misrepresentation, but there are times when they just aren't giving a full story or explaining things properly. Sometimes it's because they don't know, sometimes it's with an intent to get the result they want. But that's a high ticket item, misrepresentation, because not only do you have regulatory issues, you have potential civil litigation from the consumers as well. A third one that is on the list is a failure to supervise. Okay. So we're in a weird world with real estate brokerage because brokerages and real estate agents that their relationship isn't an employee relationship right. In most cases. Most real estate agents are classified as independent contractors, not employees in California because there's an exemption. But so when you have an independent contractor, you have limitations on what you can enforce as far as what they can do. Right. But at the back end, we also have a license that the agent's license is hung under the brokerage.
Right.
An agent in California cannot act independent of a brokerage. They are required to have their license hung, right? We call it hung, under a brokerage and only one. But that means that broker has the duty to supervise them. They are not free to just transact. They have to. But so there's a lot of failure to supervise cases. So the agent gets in trouble for whatever they did, but then the brokerage gets in trouble because they didn't supervise. So very important that you kind of understand these core concepts, that you have policies and procedures, and that you're doing what you need to do as a brokerage to make sure that your agents and your company are compliant.
So how do all these compliance rules protect the consumers that are buying and selling property?
Well, I mean, just based on the ones I just described, right? Where our money's safe.
Right.
People aren't lying to us and they're following the laws, right? I mean, these are the core concepts. That's what licensing is all about, of setting up a safety net for the consumer so that they can comfortably work with a professional and know that they're being treated properly and that they're getting the benefits that they're entitled to.
Got it. And what are some of the steps that brokers and agents can take if they just don't know? Am I doing something that's legal or not? They just don't know. What do they do?
The law doesn't give you an out because you didn't know, unfortunately. So that's never an answer. which means you got to just guess and assume that there's some rule out there. Like if there's an area that you're just not sure of, go get some legal guidance, get some help, because in this state in particular, there's almost certainly a rule.
Yes.
There's almost certainly some law, and 5 minutes with an attorney to know what that law is and to make sure your policies match up is well worth the cost compared to getting a letter and having to manage defending a case because you didn't know what you didn't know. Right.
We always say if you're talking about disclosures and you have to think about it, then yes, disclose it.
Correct.
So it's kind of the same thing. If you're really thinking, is this legal or not? Right. It's probably not. So get the legal advice.
Well, I always say if something makes you feel uncomfortable, you get that feeling, the hairs on your arms stand up, something's not right. Stop, ask some questions. Figure out why that happened before you move forward.
Just don't put your head in the sand and ignore it, because it'll get worse.
It gets worse.
Okay. Well, thank you. And thank you for joining us on the Real News Extra. If you're enjoying this content, I invite you to click on like or subscribe. And of course, ring that little bell for future notifications. My name is Fred. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.